We're back counting down the top 5 episodes of 2023. Here is number 4, episode 231, Get Out Your Feelings. You're listening to the Slaying Self-Doubt podcast with Coach Felicia, where we empower Black women to overcome their doubts, fears, and insecurities in order to give birth to their God-given purpose. Join me and sometimes some of my friends on our journey as we remind you that you are not alone. I'm Felicia Wallace, and together we will find our fears and slay them. Hey Slayers, welcome back to another episode of the Slaying Self-Doubt podcast. It's your girl, Coach Felicia. Welcome to all the new Slayers joining our movement. I'm so happy that you guys are here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for continuing to just be on this journey with us. I don't care how you found us, whether it was by way of a solo episode, guest episode, Instagram, now on YouTube, wherever you found me. I'm just glad that you found us and you have decided to stay on this journey with us. While you're listening to this episode, y'all, please share with at least 10 people. We have a goal of hitting 100,000 downloads this year, and we need your help. Then I want you to go over to YouTube and subscribe to our page, Slaying Self-Doubt. We are Slaying Self-Doubt everywhere. Okay, so on to some news and some announcements for this week that I want to let you all know. First of all, if you are not following me on Instagram or on social media, but specifically on Instagram, you really need to make sure that your notifications are turned on. Make sure you're checking my page or something, because that's where the announcements are coming up. That's where you'll hear about things happening. It's either there or if you're in the Slayer Society Facebook group. If you are not in either one of those, following me on Instagram or in the group, you're gonna miss some information until I announce it on here. And then the other part is that there's some stuff I don't even announce on here. It will only be, on Instagram or in the Slayers Society. So make sure you join, just go ahead and add. That's all you need to do. So the first thing I want to have a conversation with you all about, or let you know about, is that on Tuesdays at noon, I will be digging deeper into the weekly podcast episodes, and I'm calling that Talk to Me Tuesday. I keep singing, "Come and talk to me," and so I don't think I'm going to call it that, but I might just sing it every single time I get on it. But really, I want to use that opportunity to have you talk to me, right? When we are, when I'm recording and I'm doing this podcast, I'm talking to myself. A lot of times if I'm doing lives, if I am doing a reel, like I'm giving you information, but this needs to be a two-way street. We need to be having a conversation. If we're having a movement and we're on a journey, I can't be on it by myself. So I want to use that opportunity to be able to dig a little deeper into these conversations so that the episode doesn't go too long, but also I want some of your input. Like, is there something that stood out to you during the episode that you were like, oh man, if I could just talk to Felicia just for a second, it'll be something that I'd be like, okay, yeah, let's have a conversation about it. If it's something that you are interested in doing, you have time to do it, I promise you, I did it last week. It probably was like 15 minutes. I was running late. But either way, I did it. And, some people were on and talking, but normally it's at noon Eastern Standard Time. So if you are available, if you want to come chat with me, come on in and we can just have this conversation. So that's the announcement number 1. Announcement number 2 is that God put something on my heart last year that I really tried to give away, like legitimately tried to give away to somebody else. And he kept putting on my heart that I needed to do it. I needed to do it. Not only for myself, but for the women who would come along on this, everything we do is a journey. So to come along with me on this journey and this study. And so I will be doing a year-long plus, and I will explain that in a minute, but a year-long plus Bible study. The Bible study that we will be using is the Bible in 52 weeks study for women. And it doesn't go from, front to back. It definitely, you do a couple of weeks and it kind of goes all around the Bible, right? And so what I want to do is, God called me to do that. I am aware that that's a long time, right? And so there'll be breaks included in it. And so I want to invite you to this information session that I'm doing this Thursday, January 19th at 7 p.m. Eastern time, where I will give you the information. You can ask any questions that you have about it, what it's going to look like, all different types of things, and we'll go through that. The study is we'll start September. No, geez, us February 2nd. It will start February 2nd. That's a Thursday. That will be our first meeting is what it will be. So like I said, come to the information session so you can just get your information, so you have time to pray over it, purchase your books, and then decide if it's something that you want to do. Okay. Cool beans. Lastly, before we get into the episode, I want y'all to advertise with me. I've been posting this on social media. If you have a business, product, or a service, I want to use my platform more than just telling stories. I want to share your business. If you've been listening to this episode, listening to this podcast for a while, you'll notice that I'll do host read advertisements and sponsorships for my own stuff, and then for other people's stuff as well. And so I just want to let you know, currently with over 58,000 downloads and in 50 plus countries, you will have a global reach when you partner with me. I don't know what's going on with my DMV accent today. It is just messing me up. But you will have a global reach when you partner with me. So I want you to think about that. If you know somebody, you got a good girlfriend that hasn't started listening to this episode, to this podcast yet, but you feel like that, oh girl, you got a business or whatever have you, and let's get you out here. It is not just subject to the people who have been, who know slaying self-doubt and who've been a part of this journey. I want to help promote all small businesses, especially if it's in alignment with what it is that we do. And so depending on what it is, just go ahead and get the information. There'll be a link in the show notes and you can get it from there. Okay, so let's just get into this. Real quick, just with me, my vertigo is gone. Praise the Lord. It is. I ain't gonna say I'm healed, but I'm better. All right, I am much better. I know over the for lots of years, TV shows, movies, all the stuff, they be clowning chiropractors, right? Back doctors. That's what they just gonna crack you back. They're quacks. Let me tell you something. I got a chiropractor, and it is amazing and it is worth it. And I'll tell you, this week I was like pressed for my appointment on Friday. Like I was like, I've been working out. I was like, I just feel so much different when I get that alignment. I'm gonna put the office I go to that's here in the DMV. You need to check your insurance to see if it's covered, all of that other stuff. This is not an ad, but I love what they do. It's a Black owned facility. And he's nice, he's kind, he's seeing my kids, my husband, like I just love it. And so I just think that, you just have to share good information. Okay. That's what we do. We share referrals. I have been setting a goal to move every day for 30 minutes. I share something on my Instagram about that as well. Just setting these small goals is just allowing me to progress every day and reach my ultimate goal. And then shout out to the ladies who've been talking to me in the Slayer Society Facebook group. We've been talking about goals that we want to accomplish this month, and having the conversation again, guys. I don't want to be talking to myself, right? But having a conversation is definitely important for me, and I feel like when we have these conversations, it allows other women to hold you accountable, and boom, there we go. We just continue to just keep the party going, right? And so join the conversation if you want to be a part of what we're talking about. Otherwise, you missing out. All right, y'all, let's get into this episode. So last week we talked about the year of doing, and the purpose of the fact, the reason of it is about how we talk about all the stuff that we want to do, and we just Hollywood talk it up. And I personally want to be very intentional about this year and acting on the things that, one, I know that God has called me to do, but two, the things that I have promised to myself, right? Things that I wanted to do. So for instance, about the goal of, moving every 30 minutes, like I have some health goals for myself that will not happen unless I do, right? And, I joked I probably multiple times on this episode, on this podcast, why do I keep saying that? Like, seriously, it's really blowing me right now that I want to say podcast, but I keep saying episode. I have no idea. But I have shared multiple times on this podcast that I used to have this note on my wall, post-it note that said, spend time with God, diet and exercise, and drink water or whatever have you, like something of that. And it never moved because I never really did it. And I told you last week that having this vertigo like really kind of pushed me into a space where I had no choice but to start, right? And even though now I'm feeling better, there still have been moments where I've been like, oh, well, maybe I can. No, and I really have to like take a pause and say, Bun, like, why are you doing this? Like, even though this thing is happening, yes, you are feeling better, it's not worth it for you to go backwards because you're going in a forward motion, right? And you have a goal. Like, keep your eyes here, and you can reward yourself later or reward yourself in other ways, but that can't be it. It can't be, let's go back to coffee, let's go back to soda, let's go back to alcohol, let's go back to eating, whatever you feel like eating. Like, continue to be mindful, right? And so just kind of keeping focused on that. But I really want to talk about where this all came from, right? And so on December 5th, I posted this reel where I was saying I got some disappointing news, and I kind of went through these things to kind of get me out of the rut that I was in. And so I want to spend the next 3 weeks like going through those things. So this first one, I know you've seen the title, about get out your feelings, right? And I don't mean that rudely, like get over it or whatever have you, but sometimes we got to get out our feelings, right? And so this podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. Have you been struggling lately? Maybe you're having trouble sleeping, difficulty with the relationship, or just suffering from self-doubt. Now, y'all know there's no shame in my game, and life has been lifing lately. Trying to manage the priorities of being a wife, mom, friend, and full-time entrepreneur, it can get overwhelming. If this sounds like you, then BetterHelp wants to help you today. BetterHelp offers licensed therapists who are trained to listen and help you. Talk to a therapist in a private online environment at your convenience. There are over 20,000 therapists in BetterHelp's network, which gives you access to help that may not be available in your area. All you have to do is fill out a questionnaire to assess your specific needs, and then you get matched with a therapist in under 48 hours. How cool is that? Then you schedule secure video and phone sessions. Plus, you can exchange unlimited messages, and everything you share is completely confidential. You can also request a new therapist anytime at no additional charge. Join the 2 million plus people who have taken charge of their mental health with an experienced therapist from BetterHelp. There's a special offer to the Slaying Self-Doubt podcast listeners. You get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/slang. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/slang, SLAYING. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this podcast. On that day, I got an email about something that had been going on in the works for over a year, and having conversations with people about the possibility of things happening. And you know how like I think someone won recently, but you know how like with the lottery, right? When the numbers are really high, you are talking about like, oh man, if I had, $500 million, I'd do bop, 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 bop. Oh my gosh, is it $1 billion? Like, what is somebody gonna do with $1 billion? And you start, oh, this is what I would do. And I would, okay, so how much would you give your family? You know how you break it down like that? All right, who ain't getting no money? And who is only getting one lump sum and they better not come back? You know what I'm saying? Like, you go through all of those things. And then somebody like, well, you get a ticket, and you be like, nah, I ain't even, I'm not even spending the $2. Well, why are we having this conversation then, right? And so it was kind of like one of those things, like because this had been a conversation that had been happening for, like I said, over a year. I was already talking about how I was going to spend my lottery money, right? Like I had already kind of put myself in that position because I had assumed that it was a guarantee. I had assumed that, oh, well, it's a done deal. Like, ain't nothing gonna happen, right? And so on that day when it did happen, like I was like, it felt like a gut punch. It felt like, oh my goodness, like what is happening? Because I was over here thinking like, okay, it's a, like I said, it's a shoe in. I'm sure we've all been in that situation where you are expecting for things to be a certain type of way and you're confident, like you personally, not that you've gotten any, hey, paperwork, black and white, whatever that thing is, saying that this thing, but you're feeling like, oh, this is a shoe in. Like, you apply to a job and you're like, yes, I got it. And then they say they got, they pick somebody else and you're like, what? I went on like 8 interviews. Like I met everybody in the department. You took me to lunch. Like I met the CEO. You mean to tell me you waste? I did all of that for you to send me a we found somebody better. Now explain that to me, right? And sometimes we know that that's the process, and sometimes we know that that is, what happens or whatever have you. But it doesn't take away from the disappointment, right? And so on that day, one of the things that I shared was like, I had to check my emotions because because I'm very in tune with myself and I know how I react to certain things. I knew that disappointment could possibly do one or two things. One off the break. If I just sat in that, I knew that that was going to take me into a space where I just would have been like frustrated for like days, right? And I would have not been doing anything productive. I probably would have given myself every excuse to be like, well, I'm disappointed. So I'm, because I feel this way, I'm just going to lay in bed. Or because I feel this way, I deserve something, to make me feel better. Or because I feel this way, I don't feel like I have to do anything. Or because I feel this way, all the other things that I need to be doing, that stuff can wait because I don't feel like it. I told you I operate in my feelings a lot. So, it makes sense to me, right? I knew immediately that I could, like, if I wanted to just go lay down. That's what I wanted to do because that was how I felt, right? And so in that moment, feeling that way, but also knowing I had set some goals for myself for that week already. Like this was after I think I had an accountability meeting with somebody else and we had set these goals like, oh, we're gonna do this. And then I get the information and I was just like, you gotta be kidding me, right? And so immediately I was like, I have to get myself together. And so my first point for today is that you need to be honest about what you're feeling. Like initially I felt like whatever your body feels like that. I don't know, like I had a physical feeling like the, sinking in the stomach and like feeling hot or whatever have you. And you can attribute that to all types of different things, right? But I knew in that moment it was frustration and disappointment because of what I thought it was supposed to happen, right? And so because I knew that that's how I was feeling, like I had to just say, okay, what is it? You know what I'm saying? What is it that you feeling? And I was just like, I'm super disappointed. Like I'm disappointed because I thought this thing was going to work. And so then I went like to my room and I kind of sat down and I was like, okay, God, what does this mean? Like I was like, God, what does this mean? And so I opened up the Bible app and it happened to be on the easy version of Hebrews 11, and it says, this is what it means to trust God. And it's basically Hebrews 11:1 is the, faith is the absence of things hoped for and the substance of things not seen, right? So you don't see what's happening, but you still have faith. But it was the wordish for me that I was like, oh, okay, then. Like, that was the first thing that I was like, okay, God is saying I have to trust him. So in that moment, I was like, even in my disappointment, even in my frustration, I have to trust God, right? And so I was just like, okay, I'm still disappointed. I am still frustrated, right? And so I was trying to figure out what to do with that energy, what to do with those feelings. So I decided to go for a walk, right? So I left the house, went to the track, and was like, I'm just gonna walk. So I walked, I was listening to some music, and while I was out there, it was just my time for me and God to just have a conversation. And I felt whatever I felt. I got teary-eyed a little bit because I just was so disappointed about all the things that I had hyped up in my head. Like I said, when you are spending lottery money that there's a possibility you ain't gonna get, you done talked about who house you gonna buy, how many cars you gonna get, the first place you gonna eat at, how, where you gonna move to, like I said, who you giving money to, who ain't getting no money, you doing all those things. And so in my disappointment, not only was I disappointed about the news, but I was also disappointed about the things that was attached to that news, right? Because there was something, I told you, everything is connected. And so something was attached to that made me feel like, oh, well, because this isn't happening, these other things are going to have to, they're a part of the disappointment because it's all connected. And so just feeling all of those things, I just let myself be frustrated. I let myself be disappointed as I was walking around that track. And then the third thing is that I had to check my emotions, right? Because we tend to forget that, uh, for a lot of us, and mainly women, right? We are literally the thermometer in our houses, right? And so if our mood is off, everybody else's mood is off around us. Like if we ain't getting it together, if we are not in a good space, the people around us just feed off our energy. Our kids will be like, "What's wrong, mommy? What's wrong with you? You okay?" And you're saying that you're okay, but your entire energy is giving, "I'm not," right? Your spouse is going to be like, "I can tell something's wrong." You can say whatever you want to say, but you're giving your energy. And at the end of the day, you're not disappointed in them. You're not frustrated at them. It's this other thing that has nothing to do with that, but it is still like all of those things are still connected, right? And so the thing that I want to say is to check your emotions, because it's important for you to be mindful of how you're feeling, because you can throw off other people. You can throw off other people's day, and they don't even have nothing to do with you. It don't even have to be the people in your house. If you get disappointing news at work and you go back into that space, you have changed the dynamic, the energy in that space, in your friend groups. And whatever it is that you're doing, you can change the energy. And so it's your responsibility. It's not somebody else's responsibility to get you to feel better. If you do these steps, if you really are honest about what you're feeling, feeling whatever you need to feel, and then check those emotions, like that is you doing your work. We talk a lot about what you should be doing and this, that, and the third, and this is a part of doing, right? You have to do the work. Nobody else is responsible for making you feel better. You have to make that choice as to whether or not that's what you want to do. If you want to feel better, you will. If not, you'll just stay disappointment, and you'll stay in your sadness and stay in your frustration. And I'm saying you have a choice. I had a choice. I could have just gone and laid down, which is what I would normally do. But instead I made a different choice. I said, no, I don't want to. I want to do something different. So in order to do something different, I literally had to do something different. Let me go take this walk, figure out what I'm feeling, deal with whatever it is that I'm feeling, and then whatever the next thing is, right? I literally have to do whatever the next thing is in order for me to like move through whatever this thing is, right? And so this week I kind of just wanted to stop there, right? Because it's important for us to, a lot of times we just want to rush to the end. We want the result. We want, okay, so then what you do? This is just as important as the result, right? This is just as important as the middle. The beginning is important too. It's even more important, because if you don't have the right intentions, if you don't have the right feelings, if you're not in the right headspace, the rest of it is going to be messed up, right? And so by the time I got in the car to go home, I was completely different. I was a completely different person than what I was when I got out that car. Because when I got out the car, I was slamming doors. I was, like walking all hard, like, and in the beginning I was frustrated. Like I literally started like, now Lord, why in the world would you set me up like that? Because that's the first thing we do, right? If you believe that God and you're trusting him, because again, remember I told you I was at home and God is like, this is what it means to trust me, right? And so then I get out here and I'm like, well, you want me to trust you, but you out here doing like Bama stuff. Like what is happening, right? Like, come on, I thought we had gone past this. I thought that we were bigger than this. You and I have a better relationship. You don't have to keep doing this to me. Like what is really happening, right? This is, like I said, this is me talking to him. That's how I talk to him. You talk to him however you want to, but for me, we go kick it like this, because this is the only way that works for me. And he set me straight. He got me right through. And by the time I left out of there, I was like, oh, okay, Lord, I got you. I see what you're doing. You and me back here. That's cool. But I had to feel my disappointment. I had to feel my frustration. And at the end of the day, he already knows how you feel. He already knows what you're thinking. So when you're burying it and you acting like it don't exist, you swelling anyway. You lying and you keeping it to yourself, but he already knows. So it doesn't even matter. And then the other part to that is that burying it and keeping it down, all you do is just, again, why you need to check your emotions is that let somebody else do something to you later on in the day and you going off on them, not because they were what they did, but some of it is because you still have this pent up emotion and your frustration and your disappointment that you never even dealt with. And so today I really wanted to take the time to talk about dealing with your emotions, like getting out of your feelings, getting them out. Like I said in the beginning, it's like, oh, you need to get out your feelings, you doing the most. No. I'm saying get out of your feelings. Get out of your feelings. Get them out. Get them out. Go ahead and say it, scream it, write it, whatever you need to do so it doesn't sit with you. Okay? That's where we at today. Okay? So really quickly, be honest about what you're feeling. Feel whatever you need to feel. And then check your emotions so you don't mess up nobody else's day. Okay. Tabitha Brown always say, right? What she be saying, y'all? She be like, if you're not having a good day, like, I'm sorry for you, but don't mess somebody else's day up. Like, figure that stuff out. Don't mess somebody else's day up because you out here feeling some type of way. Do your work. Do your work. Okay. As always, y'all, thank y'all for rocking with me. I want y'all to know I am talking to myself, like literally and figuratively. Okay. When we are having these conversations, this is me sharing to you things that I am learning, that I am going through, that I am processing on my own. Okay. So I want you to know I ain't coming for you. All right. If you enjoyed this podcast and you are finding it valuable, please consider making a donation to Buy Me a Coffee. There's a link in my bio. It's a link in, Instagram. It really will help me to be able to create more content, reach new people. My goal this year, on top of reaching 100,000 downloads, is to also to create space where I'm at in my living room to do more visual podcasting, right? Like, and so I need space. I need, cameras. I need lighting. I need new mics. I need the equipment to go along with it. So I just want you to know that whatever you give and it's on your heart, it will be used for equipment to be able to grow the Slaying Self-Doubt podcast. Okay. Lastly, well, not really last, but y'all always know Jesus in Therapy. Take charge of your mental health and get 10% off your first month of therapy at BetterHelp.com. That is BetterHelp, HELP.com/slaying, SLAYING. Okay. Make sure you're subscribed to the Slayer Nation newsletter. Share this with at least 10 people. I will say 20, y'all, but that's a lot, right? I mean, you probably know 20 people, but I'm going to let y'all, I ain't going to hold you. I'm going to let you go ahead and send it to 10 people. Okay. Because we're trying to hit that 100,000. Make sure you're following me on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook. I'm Slaying Self-Doubt everywhere. Until next week. See ya. All right, y'all, that's all for this week. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to share, subscribe, rate, and review. Remember to head over to Facebook and Instagram and follow me at Slaying Self-Doubt. Oh, wait, don't forget, go to my YouTube channel and watch this episode, and remember to press the subscribe button. Until next week, see ya.